Hello. Let me ask you a question. What is one of the most important ways in which humans are different from other animals? I have an answer. I think it's amazing the number of creative different ways that we use a single energy source, the sun, to beat entropy, create inequality, and generate wealth. So before we get into all that, let's start from the base. What is life? Not in a philosophical, religious, or emotional sense. What is life biologically? For a very simple definition, life is a cell or a collection of cells that takes in material and energy from its outside environment to try and not die till it reproduces, right? And life is a complex, unstable thing. In fact, it is a miracle it even exists in the universe because the universe does not really like complex things. I'm simplifying very much here, of course, but if you take any system in the universe, it tends to increase its randomness over time or disintegrate. This is very simply the principle of entropy. Now, life in the biological sense is a lot of things, but it is not random. It's a highly ordered, complex collection of systems and structures that can reproduce itself, and that is not random. How does that happen? How does life sustain this complexity in a universe which expects it to go towards randomness? Energy. Energy is what life seeks, it is what life needs, not be consumed by randomness. Now, this might seem like a very roundabout way of saying that we need to eat to survive, but think about it. All the carbon and nitrogen and oxygen inside your own body would not like to be a part of you, or at least the universe would not like them to be a part of you. It wants all of these molecules to be outside as low energy molecules, not part of a highly ordered, structured, complex system that is you. Okay, now let's kind of ground ourselves. All life as we know it in the universe exists here on Earth, apart from a few scientists in the International Space Station above us. And all of this life ultimately has one primary energy source, the sun. Whatever you eat, no matter if you're a hardcore non-vegetarian, derives its energy from plants and ultimately the sun, because even the chicken you ate has to have eaten something plant-based at some point. Plants are thus called primary producers because they are the only beings which can generate their own energy from the sun. Photosynthesis. Now, if you look at our ancestors, not just from the Homo genus, but even all other ancestors, we were like all other animals. We had to eat whatever nature gave us. Plants, vegetables, fruits, nuts, meat, it didn't matter. We ate to survive. At some point in our evolutionary history, roughly 20 lakh years ago, or 2 million years ago, one of our ancestors, most probably the Homo erectus, learned to control fire. Now, controlling fire is considered a big step in our evolutionary history. It allowed us to stay warm at night, it gave us light, it scared away wild animals, but most importantly, it allowed us to cook food. Now, cooking in essence is pre-digestion. It softens food to make it easier to chew and it deactivates pathogens or parasites, that is true. But cooking also breaks down complex molecules and helps us absorb nutrients better. Uncooked meat is usually dangerous to eat, but cooked meat is delicious. In fact, eating cooked meat is theorized as one of the reasons why our ancestors had a level of brain development that happened at that particular point of time. Now, cooking is important because it allowed us to get a greater range of energy and nutrients from the food that we were eating before or the food that any animal was eating then. Along with hunting and gathering, some groups also took up pastoralism or herding. Now, this is a strategy to accumulate more energy surplus, right? Because there's grass which is not usable to us even if we cook it. So you take another wild species like a sheep or a goat or a cow and then use it to feed on this grass, which can convert this into an energy store which is usable by us, meat and milk. Essentially, you take another living being and make it your energy store, an energy store which can't go bad unless you kill it. The next big transformation came with farming. When we eventually made the transition to settling down in one place and growing our own food, we didn't just grow fruits and vegetables, no. We primarily grew cereals. Now, rice, wheat and maize might seem like an eternal part of our human story, but for a large part of that species' history, they were really wild grasses. We had to domesticate them, much like we domesticated goats or sheep or cow, generation over generation, selecting the plants which had a greater quantity of seed Ultimately, till we got to a point where we have a plant which concentrates so much of its energy in its seed that it bends over due to its own weight. And then these became annual plants, not like the perennial versions of its wild cousins. These species wouldn't really exist today if we were not around to farm them. And this seed, when harvested and cooked, gives us so much more energy per unit area than what hunting or gathering gives. If you really think about it, a grain storage area is just concentrated sunlight that we got through a whole lot of manipulation. I just want to take a moment here to appreciate how transformative this is. Cooking with fire or farming may seem very low tech today, but from a concentrating energy surplus perspective, they're really transformative. We went from getting energy from what we could find to getting more energy from what we could find with fire, to getting other animals to concentrate and store energy for us with herding, to finding ways to concentrate and store this energy with cereal farming. If you think back and connect to what I said in the beginning about entropy, it is this. Homo sapiens are the first collection of cells who have found more and more creative ways to beat entropy. Now maybe we can stop the video at this point and pat ourselves on the back about how special or how clever we are, but there's one more thing, and that, in my opinion, is the most important thing in the transition to settled agriculture. All of us are children of the sun. We can't make use of it on our own like plants can, but as a species, up till when we were about hunter-gatherer groups of 50 or 60 or so, we found better and better ways of making use of it. Usually in a hunter-gatherer group, the men went out to hunt, but it's usually gathering done by women and sometimes children, which had a better chance of getting food. And this was divided equally amongst everyone in the group. Everyone participated except the very elderly or very young children. When we changed to settled agriculture, however, this relationship changed. The largest proportion were farmers, creating more food that can ever be gathered with hunting and gathering, of course. But there was also a tiny number of elites, people who did not have to farm to get their food, but who ate and ate well and sometimes even controlled the food. They may be religious elites or political elites, the details differed from civilization to civilization, but the appearance of a hierarchy, of a minority of people who got to control the food and a majority who had to farm and work in order to survive, is seen wherever farming civilization appears. The appearance of inequality and persistence, of course, is one of the most visible things of human society as a whole, even today. Now, you may have opinions about inequality and even justifications for it. That is not the topic for this video. But taken from an energy surplus accumulation perspective, it is very strange indeed. All of us are children of the sun and have equal rights to its rewards. But some of us have long established as its most favorite children. Thank you.